the filing of candidacy for next year's elections fast approaching, several politicians have set a rough date on when they will finalize plans for the 2022 polls.
In a text message, Sarah said her regional party, Hugpong ng Pagbabago, is asking her to reconsider her plans for next year. Senators Ping Lacson and Tito Soto, meanwhile, may release their final decision by August or September. Soto considers the vice presidential race if Lacson will be his running mate.
Senator Manny Pacquiao says he will reveal his election plans at the right time.
It will be welcome to the NPC if he goes to NPC.
Senators Panfilo Lacson and Manny Pacquiao are emerging names as the possible presidential candidates of the Nationalist People's Coalition, or NPC, for the 2022 elections. With their hope for anything that is possible on shifting party alliances, will Senator Pacquiao leave PDP Laban and join the NPC? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to this special edition of The Chiefs. Ako po si Robbie Alampay, and with us are Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star, Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5, and Ed Lingao of One News. And Chiefs, idiretso ko na yung introduction to the guest because joining us tonight is Senate President Senator Tito Soto. Senator Soto is also chairman of the Nationalist People's Coalition. Good evening, Tito Sen.
Good evening, Robbie. Good evening. Good evening, Ed. Good evening, Ma'am Lucy, Ma'am Ami. Good evening sa inyo lahat. Magandang gabi po.
Senator, we've been talking about this topic for so many weeks now, pero wala pang nagdideklara. Ay, to the point, ay wala na bang wag na nating i-deny yun?
Not exactly. Mahirap eh. Because like for example, in our case, the Nationalist People's Coalition, we have been trying to consult with our other party mates nationwide, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, as you well know. Marami kaming congressman, marami kaming mayor, vice mayor, konsehal, marami kaming governor. So, nationwide, pagka nagtatawagan kami, or dati kasi pwede na akong tumawag antimano, kami nila, ambassador dating nung araw, natawag lang kami ng meeting, dadating halos lahat eh, mga 80-70% ang dumarating sa amin eh. So madaling magkonsulta. Lately, hindi. At hindi namin magawa. I could not go out of my way to consult everyone as much as possible because they're all busy because of the pandemic. That's number one. And then the second thing is that they're busy with their constituency. So, gustuhin man nating na parang election or campaign season na, hindi pa rin talaga eh. Totally, we could not do that. Even in our case, we're like in my case, I'm seriously considering it. Senator Lacson is seriously considering it, but we could not outright really admit na yeah, we're running. It's better to be accurate or honest about it instead of just saying na no, I'm not running because I was papile ka na certificate of candidacy. Yung iba naman magdedeklara na agad pagkatapos later on magbabago isip. So we would rather exercise prudence at this point para masiguro. And that's the case as far as NPC is concerned.
Okay, mahirap naman talaga magsalita for everyone, as I said. Let's start with what you can say for yourself. And total, hindi naman kaila na gaya nga po ng sinasabi niyo, nagsasalita rin naman si Ping Lacson. When you say that you and Ping Lacson have been speaking and you are candid about, pinag-iisipan namin, what exactly does that mean?
We have listed down, Senator Lacson and I, we've listed down the ills of the country. And our big question is, where are we going? Are we going forward? Do we want to go forward? Ganun yung dating eh. So, meron kami listahan nung ano yung mga pinag-uusapan natin. Like the bad economy, yung the West Philippine Sea, COVID-19, pandemic, di ba? Tapos the issue of corruption. Then next year, it will be 13 trillion debt of the government. Meron pang increase ng internal revenue allotment because of the Mandana Supreme Court ruling that the local government units will be getting more in their internal revenue allotments and therefore less will be left with the national government. Yung mga ganito. And then the unemployment rate, 30% hunger rate. Meron pang isa pang problema, yung low tax revenue, and then also next year the budget of the pension for the military personnel
Yeah,
will be
lumulabo sir.
higher than the budget of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. So we sat down, we were thinking, and we were talking to our friends and those who were approaching us, the different sectors who were telling us to consider running. So, ang pinag-uusapan muna namin, meron ba tayong solusyon dito? Meron kaming iniisip, like for example, in the case of corruption, illegal drugs and drug abuse and peace and order, meron kami mga formulate na programa. So, we'd rather be sure that we have the answers or we have the proposals, at the very least, the proposals to handle or to face these problems bago kami tumalo na sabihin namin, tatakbo na kami. Ganyan yung sitwasyon. No? So, we have agreed also, of course, alam nyo naman, talagang we have been very close since the late 80s. Ano? Kami nila Senator Lacson, Senator Honasan, hindi naman kami naghihiwa-hiwalay. So, if Senator Lacson, I've said it before, if Senator Lacson runs as for the presidency, I will be the running mate. I will support him. And vice versa, as he have mentioned before.
Senator, pag natuluyan, anong classification niyo? Will you be classified as opposition, center, kakampi ba kayo ng administration? Kasi yung isang bayan is also trying to unify the opposition. Kasama ba kayo doon? Anong papel doon ng National People's Coalition?
Kung sakaling matuloy kami yung neutral. Kami yung alternative. Because like in the case of NPC, no, I still have I have yet to discuss it with my party mates. Hindi lahat siyempre alam ko na susuporta kaagad kay Senator Lacson because he's not a member of NPC. Pero kami kasi as NPC right now, we are in alliance with the President. We have no coalition, we have no alliance with any other political party. We are in alliance with the President because that was the agreement of the leadership of NPC, even the time that Buster Dundee was alive. Yun yung namin talaga, yun ang napagkasundoan namin. So, we will be an alternative. We will be neutral. We're not opposition, but we're not the administration. Unless all of a sudden the administration decides that we're it. Then you become the administration.
So, medyo malabo yata, Senator, yung one-on-one, no? Administration, opposition, at the very least, magiging three-cornered fight yan. Kung sakaling magkatuluyan yung mga pinag-uusapan ngayon na alliances. Nakikita niyo ba yon?
Yes, I agree. Malamang ganun yun. I concur with that. Kasi sa akin lang, on a personal note, then they could, with due respect to them, ako tingin ko, it will be Sara Duterte, it will be Isko Moreno, Manny Pacquiao, Leni Robredo, and Senator Ping Lacson.
Okay, how much?
O baka may Bongbong Marcos pa. So baka
Marami yun.
among the six, baka mga isa, dalawa doon, baka mag-slide to Vice President.
Okay, how much of your decision rests on the decision of Senator Lacson, especially now na kino-consider din siya ng LP coalition, no, na maging kandidato. Isa siya sa mga medyo inimbitahan nila or inoferan at the very least.
I haven't thought of it that way. Hindi ko naisip na ganun ng if it rests on the decision of Senator Lacson because we've always focused on our tandem together and the programs that we want to do. Doon talaga nakafocus. I should start thinking about your question, Lucy.
So hindi necessarily kasi like si Senator Trillanes, sabi niya, pag hindi tumakbo si VP, tatakbo siya. I mean, ganun siya ka-sure about what he's going to do. So yours is not as, let's just say, firm or solid right now. No? Parang, in other words,
I'd
you
say
can
that
go it alone.
Yes,
Yeah.
medyo fluid pa. Medyo fluid pa at this point. If you want to put it that way, ganun mo. Parang ganun muna.
Sir, over the
How-
weekend, si Chavit Singson joined your party, the party of which you're chairman, the Nationalist People's Coalition. And of course, Chavit is very well known to be a close advisor and good friend of Senator Pacquiao. Well, obviously, a lot of people are asking, is Chavit laying the groundwork for Manny Pacquiao to also join the NPC and possibly run for president under the NPC?
I was not surprised to hear that from people na makakala nila parang opening lang si Chavit. Ano, but really, very bluntly, we never discussed Manny Pacquiao. We never talked about him. When we talked a few months ago, when he was trying to get the pulse of the different organizations, different political parties, tapos nung kausap niya ako, interesado siya sa NPC because the founder is a friend of his, you know. And then sabi ko nga, I never realized na wala siyang political party, national political party. Meron siya sa local nila, sa Ilocos Sur. So I said, of course, if you want to join the NPC, you will be most welcome. And then Wednesday, 3 days before he took his oath, he called me that night and he was, actually that night, pagtawag niya sa akin, ang balat na niya, pare, sumpa na ako sa'yo. Sabi ko, teka muna. Tawagan natin yung mga grupo ko. Sabi ko, Secretary General namin, iba namin. So we set it Saturday, and even during the time that we were there, we had breakfast before the oath taking. We did discuss it. We talked about the local politics. We talked about. I think he's going to run for governor. I don't know. You can ask him that, but that's, I think, yun ang tingin kong plano niya.
But if you don't mind, it's a bit, parang, kagaya nga po nito, no? Pinakilala ni Ed, si Chavit Singson, and immediately, all Filipinos, that's the one thing they know about him and his political, kay Manny Pacquiao yan, advisory ni Manny Pacquiao, malapit niya kay Manny Pacquiao. And so, it just seems that, given yung tema na lahat yan, at pagka binanggit si Manny Pacquiao ngayon, it's always in the context of the 2022 elections. Hindi man lang pumasok sa isip niyo na, teka muna, Congressman Singson, ano bang pakay mo, and for that matter, ano bang alam nyo sa pakay ni Senator Pacquiao?
Hindi. So, I'm sorry, Robbie, really, hindi, ewan ko, it didn't cross my mind. Siguro because of our long-time friendship, ako pa nga ang tinanong niya. Sabi nga niya, basta tumuloy ka, sabi niya, solid, ang Ilocos Sur, solid sa'yo, ganun lang. I am trying to recall that morning na nagbe-breakfast kami. Baka napag-usapan lang namin yung mga gustong tumakbo, something like that. He never mentioned it. You can ask him. And you can ask those who were with us, Gigi Agabao of Isabela, Dom Mendoza, the Secretary General of the House of Representatives. I don't recall him saying anything about the money or presidential, ano lang eh. Parang
sige pa.
napag-usapan lang namin sino yung mga possibly tumakbo.
Apo,
Pero yung submarine na pag-usapan?
Ha?
Yung submarine na pag-usapan?
Alin doon? Sorry?
Yung submarine na pag-usapan ba?
Hindi, matagal ko na nakita yun. Luma na yun.
Sige. Isa-isang bagay naman po, yung tungkol naman po ulit sa inyo. I know you've spoken about this already. Pero itong usapin ulit ni President Duterte, the option to run for Vice President remains on the table. Your thoughts on that?
Well, if he runs as Vice President, he will be a formidable competitor, surely. But if I decide to run, and I have my program of government and in hoping to upgrade the office of the Vice President, because instead of being a spare tire, then I would not think of who are the other candidates. Okay lang, sabi nga nila, the more the merrier, and then there will be choices for the people. Atin naman, i-offer ko yung alternative ko, I will offer myself if I do decide to do so. So it's up to the people. Sa kanila naman yun.
Ano yung magiging campaign pitch niya, Senator? Medyo matinding kalaban si Presidente kung sakasakali. What are you talking about an alternative? Ano yung ibig niyo sabihin?
One of the programs that I would like to infuse would be a holistic approach on the problem of illegal drugs and drug abuse. It's not happening today. The concentration of the present administration was on enforcement. And the only way you can solve the problem of illegal drugs and drug abuse, and this has been my advocacy since my Vice Mayor Quezon City days, wherein we were voted the model council by the WHO because of my program on the 4 major concerns, which is enforcement, prosecution, prevention, and rehabilitation. Therefore, you handle the problem of supply reduction, and you also handle the bigger problem, which is demand reduction. And that is not being done now. Now, the Office of the Vice President can do that. Can do that. The way I upgraded the Vice Mayors League of the Philippines in 1988, I think I would be able to do so for the Office of the Vice President, and there will be a holistic approach on the problem of drug abuse. These are 2 different animals. It's related, but it's different, and it's not being approached that way.
Pero Senator, kung ang presidente mo si Ping Lacson can you reassure the public na malaking mababawas sa human rights violations being attributed now to the drug war? Kasi medyo
Senator Lacson will most probably concentrate on the issue of corruption. And he's been known for that. And even during his time, pati pareho ng human rights, when he was PNP chief, at tinunang pulis if you will recall. Hindi lang sa forma, kundi pati sa kilos. Talagang natakot sa kanya. So, I'm so sure that that problem will be faced by Senator Lacson head on. Yun ang nakikita ko So,
Yes, sir.
as I said right now, it should have been done, but it's not. So, I am going to bring my expertise into it and do it.
On another matter po na I don't know kung nabanggit nyo kanina, but what about the peace process? Napag-usapan nyo po ba ni Senator Lacson, and what is your alternative approach to the peace process?
The current NTF-LCAC program is a very good program. We will continue with that. If ever, I'm sure Senator Lacson will continue with that program. I believe in it. It's a good solution to the peace process. And it's happening right now. It's really successful. Kung hindi nga lang dyan sa pandemic, mas maraming nagawang mabuti itong administrasyon as far as that program is concerned. Meron lang mga probinsya na hindi pa masyadong solved, pero it's running well. Definitely, it's running well.
But to be more precise po,
wala rin mga rebelde, biglang may programa na, may ospital na, may eskwelahan na, may mga jobs, may mga pagkakakitaan na, pati mga agricultural issues nila nasasalo because of the budget that we placed there. And the budget is not touched by the officers of the NTF-LCAC. The budget goes directly to the LGUs. It's the LGUs that does that. So that's a program that
yes, sir. Sir, you're referring, sir, to the funding arrangements for the barangays under the NTF-LCAC. But what about the other aspect of the NTF-LCAC? I'm referring to how they identify and how they prosecute people they suspect to be members of the left, whom they accuse to be members of the New People's Army.
That's the ATC naman. That's not connected to the program of the task force. That's a different program.
But sir, let me ask you about that. What is your point of view? Yours and Senator Lacson's point of view on, for example, the militant left, on what we now call the legal left, for example, the Makabayan Bloc and all these. are these terror groups, as stated now by members of the NTF-ELCAC and the ATC, or are they basically progressives, as they claim to be?
On a personal note, as far as I'm concerned, whether you're the legal left or you're the illegal left, whatever category, as long as you do not propose violence, as long as you do not do anything illegal against government or against the people, I have no problem with you. Di
So
ba?
wait, I mean, kaya yun po yung tanong ko sa bukod po sa NTF-ELCAC and bukod po sa mga socio-economic approach to the peace process, in particular sa peace process, peace talks. What will be your approach to the peace talks? Will a presidency under Ping Lacson immediately or consider reopening the peace talks?
That is something that we have not discussed. I'm sorry, I cannot answer for him.
But for yourself?
For myself, as long as there is a ceasefire, we can have peace talks. We cannot have peace talks if there is no ceasefire.
No. Okay, are there other presidentiables within the party or among your allies that you will consider running with or supporting if you decide not to run? I mean, sino yung mga likely? For example, Richard Gordon is an adopted NPC member. If he just runs, will you support him? Or who do you give priority to?
In that case,
Some support.
like for example, related to that question, Lucy, ibig sabihin, if Senator Lacson does not run,
Yes.
and then we will consider some other even NPC guest candidates or NPC
Right.
members. At the moment, I will have to honestly answer you by saying that I will cross the bridge when I get there. I have not programmed for it. I have not given it a thought.
What about the Senate slate? Meron na ba kayong mga... Yes, sinong mga contenders dyan?
That is the easiest. As far as we're concerned, that is the easiest because we already have NPC stalwarts who are going to come back, like Loren Legarda,
You're right.
JV Ejercito, Sherwin Gatchalian, Chis Escudero. He has never left the party. He had a leave. He took a leave, but he is still NPC. And then, of course, incumbent pa yung iba. Sila dito lapid. And then we have our group in the Senate, incumbent senators like Mig Subiri, Joel Villarema, Sani Angara, Dick Gordon. We have incumbents that are
You have the numbers
friendly.
there, no?
We have yes.
You really have the numbers there. I mean,
PSP if you don't have the numbers.
yeah. No, I mean your party.
Oh yeah.
And you...
For
do you-
2022.
Yes, for 2022.
The people
Yes.
we want to support, yes, we have.
Oh.
We have the numbers.
Senator, kung hindi tatakbo si President Duterte as VP, who will you consider as the strongest opponent if you will run for VP? Kasi nabanggit na si former Defense Chief Gibo, si Martin Romualdez. Sino yung sa tingin nyo
Bongbong
malakas na malakas? Si Bongbong Marcos, possible as well.
Isko Moreno also nababanggit for both positions.
Sino yung sa tingin nyo for VP?
I refuse to
Malakas
answer.
na opponent. Yung magiging opponent ninyo kung sakasakali.
I refuse to answer.
Yeah.
I refuse to answer. Ano
Between
yun,
Gibo na lang. Between Gibo and Martin.
Huwag na.
Okay, yung kampanya na lang. How do you think...
If I mention a name, they will put
Yes.
excellent to it. Believe me.
Right. Okay, let's talk about the campaign. How different do you think the campaign will be this time around, considering that we're in a pandemic? Life has changed considerably, especially now that there are more people getting their information from online sources. And of course, yung mga bata, there are more young voters coming in?
All right. Ito, una sa lahat. Based on the recent surveys, the people get their are opinionated based on what they hear and see from 80% national television. So yung mga
At TV
katulad nyo,
pa
kayo,
rin?
oo, 80% national television. Big percentage local television programs. So siguro yung mga news nila.
Anong
mga sabi
study
mo,
yan?
Aba,
Kasi
Yeah,
we're also
that's it.
getting
That's it.
studies that show that people are now relying heavily on online sources, no, for news.
no, Facebook comes in about third. Facebook comes in third because yung local television programs saka radio programs, national radio programs, halos magkasabay. Basta I'm so sure that almost 80% ang national TV. Sino ba yung nag-briefing sa akin ito? Okta yata. Okta yung Pulse.
Okay.
Ano nag-briefing sa akin yan Okta, I think. And then, you can ask them. And then Facebook, ang napakababa yung Instagram at Twitter. Napakaliit.
Okay, so
Napakaliit. Facebook.
but
Ayun,
Facebook
ito
is
ngayon.
the new platform.
Pero there should be a call, not only by government, but people, na ang Facebook dapat patinuin. Alam nila they're now thinking about it. There must be, what's this proposal? One name,
Guidelines.
one person, one account. Hindi ba pwede yung 3-4 ang account mo, meron kang Tarpulano 1, Tarpulano 2, Tarpulano 3, walang ginawa kundi magmura. Hindi ba? Hindi maganda yun.
Pero marami na rin
But,
yung
but
nireklamo yan.
how do you
But
implement
where will legislation like that come from?
They
Where
can
will
do it.
legislation come
They
back
can
from?
do it. Hindi kailangan ng legislation.
Hindi kailangan yan?
Talk to Facebook. I had
Hindi,
that.
kasi yung broadcast, halimbawa, binibilang yung number of hours, binibilang yung advertising spend, di ba?
But then,
So
still
sa
again,
Facebook, wala bang controls na
yun
ilalagay
ang
dyan?
the best solution doon para mabawasan yung sinasabing mga trolls at walang ginawa kundi manira ng kapwa. Yun ang
Pero sir,
Yeah,
doesn't
but-
that go
but
into civil liberties? Because people do have the right to make as many accounts as they want to, so long as they don't violate the law.
That's Facebook That's their that's their turf. They own that.
Well,
Ayaw
I
mo,
know,
ha?
but
Pwede tayong
but
sabihan.
you're
But,
going
but
to leave
either
it
way,
to them?
either way, Senator,
decide?
Senator, napupunta yung usapan sa essentially regulating social media. That's what you're saying.
Hindi, that's not regulating social media You can say whatever you want as long as it's not libelous Hindi ba? Pero the proposal is, I'm not saying that this is my proposal. This is the proposal that I heard and was given to me that I know is being proposed to Facebook now.
Okay.
One account, one name, one person.
Okay. Internal, parang self-regulation nila.
Elections. Bawasan yung problema sa trolls, problema sa mga naninira ng kapwa.
Okay.
Pinag-aaralan na yan actually ng Facebook And in fact, they've shut down some inauthentic accounts, di ba? Nangyari na
Ginagawa. Kaya naman nilang gawin.
Yeah, they pulled down.
In any
And
case,
they fact
Senator,
check,
daling ko lang po dun sa punto nyo. You raised yung influence ng, and I can believe that, number one pa rin ang broadcast, TV and radio in particular. So what
Yeah.
are you saying? That despite the pandemic and despite anticipated quarantines continuing, that anybody running for the elections still essentially has the same traditional tools. Walang magbabago sa kampanya.
Ang magbabago doon yung mga rally. Yun ang magbabago doon. I'm sure there will
Hindi na
there will be
magrarally.
more big rallies. Hindi na ganun yun. There will be perhaps town hall meetings. You invite the leaders.
But as a politician,
Aasahan mo yung trickle down.
but-
Aasahan mo yung trickle down balita. Yung mga ganun.
but as a politician, whether you're running with the administration or with the opposition or however you define yourself, you can live with that. You can live with, as long as I have access to the traditional media, I can live without the traditional rallies.
Oo. As a matter of fact, the traditional rallies, even before, were just rarara for the local candidates. Pararara nilang yun eh. Because, look, yeah, how many days do you have? 90 days to campaign. Pagpalagay mo na everyday, mag-rally ka ng 2 beses, which is very difficult to do. Ano, gawin mo ng rally to the 180 rallies. 180 rallies. How much can you put in how many can you put in one plaza? Maximum na, meron ka ng mga sikat na kung sino-sino, mga artista roon na mga dadalin mo na kung sino-sino. I've been in national elections
Magastos
since
pa.
1987 eh. Mga 5,000, swerte ka na eh. O, 5,000, swerte ka na. Kalahati pa nun, hindi boboto sa'yo. O.
Mas makakatipid kayo, Senator.
Ako,
Cheaper sa inyo.
Hindi, magiging mahal kasi mahal kayo eh. Hindi. Ngayon, bilangin mo, 180 times 5,000.
Oh.
180 times 5,000. Kung ano yun, nag-rally ka pa ng illegal noon. Ibig sabihin yun, pati yung 1 day before, nag 2 days ka pa. 5,000 dahil 180, ilang million lang eh. 60 million, 54 million dati, ang mga botante eh. Wala, you cannot reach too much in rallies ng gano'n. At pag kami nasaktan pa rin sa rally, ikaw pa nasiraan. Nangyari sa amin nung araw yan, may nahulog sa puno eh. Nung tinignan ko yung bilang namin doon sa munisipyo na yun, halos na zero kami eh.
Senator, may warning ang PNP against vote buying online this coming election. You think that's a valid fear?
Again, what? Daw?
Nagwa-warning ang PNP sa vote buying online. Online vote buying. Kasi marami na daw ngayon may account sa social media, online. You think that's a valid fear?
I do not understand how vote buying can be done in that case because maloloko ka lang. Ay tanga ka pag pumasok ka sa vote buying online. Ang kailangan ang vote buying doon sa presinto. Yun ang effective na vote buying sa presinto.
Para makikita-resulta.
Patay ka, ubos ang pera mo sa walang kakwenta, hindi mo mabibilang kung binoto ka o hindi.
Walang resulta.
Wala, tagilid yun.
Teka muna, so...
Hayaan mo
ano
nang
yung
gawin ng mga sabihin mo, tuloy na nila. Lalo na yung mga kandidatong puro gusto daanin sa pera. Hayaan mo, para maubos ang pera nila.
So ngayon, teka, yung PCOS, hindi na yung issue. Yung kasi before the pandemic, pinag-uusapan pa yun eh, especially right after the last senatorial and local elections, di ba? Na dapat baguhin na, hindi nagwo-work itong fully automated, blah, blah, blah. Wala na yun lahat, We've shelved all of that, I guess.
Meron talaga sa aming proposal na hybrid eh. Hybrid sana eh. Talagang doon halos minimal na ang delikado. Pero I don't know if kung aabot kung maipapasa namin by August man lang para madedelay ang filing, hindi na kailangan October. Kasi yung proposal namin ng hybrid manual ang botohan. Tapos tara-tara
Tapos yung
Pero
yes.
Ilalagay mo yung computerized and transmission, which is the delay. Ang delay naman talaga ng mga election, yung transmission eh. From the barangay to the municipality, to the province, to COMELEC, di ba? Dala-dala yung mga ballot box. Yun yung dating problema ng transmission. Pero you eliminate that by automation. But yung botohan, pwedeng hindi automated eh. Mas safe eh. But anyway, kung hindi namin makakaya, ang key natin dito, una, ang COMELEC, medyo nangangako sila na hindi niya hayaan na maisahan sila uli. Na medyo binubulag sila. Pangalawa, may DICT na ngayon. Noong mga nakaraang eleksyon, wala pang DICT. Medyo pwedeng makialam talaga yun doon sa automation.
Sir, if you don't mind, sir, I'd like to go back very quickly lang dun sa politika. You were quoted kasi as saying earlier that you talks already with Manny Pacquiao at kasama pa sa talk si Senator Ping Lacson. Magkakasama
naman kami sa Senado kasi.
ano po yung konteksto ng talks na ito? At yung talks na ito ba, by any chance, is there any chance of being, for example, giving way to Pacman kung sakaling magkaigihan doon sa issues? Kasi para naman kayong massive block. Isang bloke naman kayo sa Senado.
Oo nga.
Nagkakasundo naman kayo.
Yeah, ang nagiging usapan is nagkakatanungan eh. Ang tanong ni Manny sa amin, tutuloy ba kayo?
Oh.
Ganun eh. Tinatanong din namin siya, ikaw ba tutuloy ka? Sana, pagkasigurado na, saka tayo mag-usap-usap. Parang ganun. Ganun eh. Kasi siguro meron ding nagkakahiyaan ng konti. And then,
Pakiramdaman pa.
magkakaibigan naman kami, pero maraming kwento, pero may mga kwento kasi hindi ko naman pwedeng, I'm not authorized to tell the public.
Yeah. Baka next week po, authorized na kayo. Baka po next week, authorized na kayo magsabi.
Hindi, baka once we decide,
Apat naman nandito eh.
Yeah.
once we decide, I promise you, mga August dyan, kung nag-decision kami, I will be very open about everything. Ako naman that's the last thing I would want to do. I don't want to lie, especially to the public, the media. I never did. You can ask Luchi. We had a past. Diba?
Ituloy natin to.
Grabe.
1998 ba yun? 1998.
Professional
1997.
past. Yeah, 1997 onwards. Yeah.
They know me. Basta pwedeng sasabihin ko. Hindi naman ako nagtatago eh.
Sige po. Well, all that means, Senator, is that we'll have to bring you back soon. Tsaka continuing all the way to 2022. Dire-diretso po itong kwentuhan na to.
Sige po. Yes, sir.
Sige pa. Senator Tito Sotto, maraming salamat po.
Wala tayo.
Thank you, sir. Yes, po.
We'll need to
Bye.
take a break.
Bye.
Stay with us. The Chiefs will be right back. Welcome back, the Chiefs. I'm Robbie Alampay. I'm with Ami Pamintuan, Luchi Cruz Valdez, and Ed Lingao. And now joining us is IATF Co-Chairperson and Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles. Good evening, Secretary Nograles.
Gandang gabi sa iyo, Robbie.
Robbie, pwede ako magtanong muna? Muna, ha?
Lahat ng mga nanonood.
May personal interest ako dito eh.
Okay.
Okay. Sir, hindi pa ako nagpapabakuna.
Naku,
At
dadamputin
nag-isip
na.
ba ako?
Ayan.
Oo. Aarestuhin ba ako?
Wala, hindi naman. Wala naman tayong ganyan policy.
Actually,
Sabi lang ni Pangulo
yun din actually yung tanong ko eh. Kasi 8 o'clock kanina, nag-big story ako. As of 8 o'clock, ang balita namin, papaaresto yung mga ayaw magpabakuna at saka the face shield stays, no? It's now
Yeah, the face
9:30.
shield
It's
stays.
now 9:30. May nagbago po ba sa mga policy?
The face shield stays.
Okay.
No, that's very clear. But as far as yung arresting yung hindi nagpapabakuna, wala naman tayong policy
Okay.
na ganyan.
Okay. Okay. But in all Go ahead, Lucy.
Pero ano pong sabihin na natin, tinatahak nun na mga ganong pananalita? Ang ibig sabihin ba ay darating ang araw na imamandando na talaga ang pagbabakuna at hindi pwedeng labagin?
Well, una sa lahat, when the president said that, I think he already explained naman na sinabi niya in the context na yung, kumbaga, the sense of exasperation, hindi lang niya maunawaan na sa ating ibang mga kababayan na nandyan naman yung paraan ng pagpapabakuna, nandyan yung opportunity ng pagpapabakuna, but they still are not convinced or ayaw magpabakuna. So, in terms of a father of the family, kumbaga, di ba? Father of the nation, we all understand na kailangan natin protectionan yung most vulnerable lalo na. And that's basically senior citizens and those with comorbidities.
Yeah.
So parang in a sense of exasperation, ano bang kailangan kong gawin? Kailangan ko ba kayong arestuhin at para lamang maproteksyonan kayo? Because yun ang iniiwasan natin eh. The reason why we're going for the senior citizens and those with comorbidities as our priority, kasi sila yung most vulnerable to be hospitalized.
Yes, I understand.
So
So this
yun lang
is
yung-
not in any way laying the groundwork. Parang hindi naman.
No.
Yeah.
All
All right.
Are you completely ruling
I'm
it
safe.
out? Kasi ang sinabi ni spokesman Harry Roque, saka ni Justice Secretary Guevara, kailangan daw ng law for that. But under extraordinary circumstances, under a national emergency, would it be possible nga? Because we've actually been doing a lot of things na outside the regular laws, hindi ba? Yung mga quarantine na yan,
Yes.
so, is it possible actually to put people under detention or under special restriction if they refuse to be vaccinated, just to keep the rest of the community safe? Is that scenario possible?
Well, right now, gaya ng sinabi kanina, di ba, you need a law. And if you need a law, you have to pass through Congress. So without that law, then it would be, it might be difficult to enforce. No, but yes, I understand what you're saying. Na it's special circumstances. It's we're in a time of pandemic, and right now, wala pa naman tayong nakikitang ibang bansa, halimbawa, na gumagawa pa niyan. So perhaps it may not be something na i-consider natin in light of the fact na other countries are not doing that yet. But siguro, yung mga discussions about that are just academic in nature. Kumbaga, theoretically, can it be done? Theoretically, if Congress passes a law, then yes. I think may jurisprudence to that effect na laws protecting the public health and welfare of everybody may stand constitutionality. Pero we're neither here nor there yet, di ba? Wala pa yung batas at wala pa namang policy na pinapa-execute na ganyan.
Bukod po sa wala pang batas, sa totoo lang din, sa kabilang side naman is how do you even enforce or even make that argument kung pati yung bakuna wala pa, di ba? I mean, kulang na kulang pa nga. It's not as if umaapaw yung bakuna pagkatapos na people are not taking it. So I want to take the discussion there. Ano po bang, what's the status now and what's the timeline for the arrival of vaccines? Do we anticipate anything that the public needs to be braced for?
Yeah, well, first of all, yung binalita ni Secretary Galvez kagabi na yung sabi ng Sinovac manufacturers that they will be front-loading the vaccines in advance. Whereas before, ang inaasahan natin, it will come in tranches all the way to December. There is a good chance that we may receive it, all of it, by September or October. So, kumbaga, if a front-load na yung tranches. And that's good news for us because that means in earlier months, we will get more vaccines from Sinovac. Then pangalawa, inaasahan din po natin yung mga donations from the COVAX facility, donations from Japan, and donations from the US. No? So yun ang tulong nila sa atin. And then, of course, yung sa COVAX, inaasahan natin. Then, the other, yung sa Pfizer, yung bago lamang na firm up na supply agreement na 40 million mula sa Pfizer. And then darating na rin po yung mga mula sa Moderna. We'll get our initial batch this month. And then tuloy-tuloy na yung pagdating ng Moderna. And then yung Sputnik V or Sputnik 5 na darating. And yung sinabi ni FDA DG Domingo na pati yung Bharat na vaccine mula sa Bharat may already be brought into the country kasi mukhang nabigay na ng full EUA. That would mean pwede nang i-tripartite agreement yon with those who are interested in entering into tripartite with Bharat.
Okay. So where does that put us? I
Sir,
mean,
let
in
me-
terms of the scenario, where does that put us, let's say, by December?
The objective remains the same, which is a better Christmas. And when we say that, ibig sabihin na anywhere between we'll have the supply for the inoculation of 70 million Filipinos, 70 million Filipinos, and hopefully the demand will equal the supply. If demand equals the supply, all things considered, then we'll hit the 70 million mark. But we have a low range and high range there, no? So 60 million to 70 million, or maybe perhaps 50 million to 70 million, wag naman sana 50 million. But that really depends on the demand, no? And then that's what we're hoping to be able to push even some more. While we've already secured enough doses, we have to work on getting more people convinced to take the first shot and second shot.
Sir, let me expand things a bit. There was a proposal from the private sector, specifically from Secretary Joey Concepcion, to create parang special safe spaces for those who are immunized in public places as against those who are not yet immunized or who refuse to be immunized. There's been some back and forth on that on the topic kasi some people are raising the concern that it might be discriminatory. On the other hand, din naman, you also have government mandated to protect the public interest and the public health. Do we have any position on this?
No firm position yet. Of course, tuloy-tuloy naman yung ating conversation and discussion with the private sector. So we've heard, some sectors in the private sector, some groups have already presented those proposals to us. So, pero wala pa tayong firm up agreement. Kasi nga, because of sinasabi nga namin, tingnan mo yung legalities muna, di ba? Because yung discrimination nga, anti-discrimination laws, and all of that. So, we haven't taken a position on that yet. Although, ang sinasabi namin sa private sector, maybe you should firm up the proposal first and take a look muna at the legalities of this issue before you bring it back up to us. But yes, discussion has already been opened regarding that.
Pero so do you foresee the need for a law on this? Kasi for example, the law on smoking and non-smoking spaces, that did require a law. But I don't know kasi in this case, in the case of major public health concern, if it also requires a law, pwedeng ordinansa lamang.
Kumbaga, ang sinasabi kasi namin sa kanila is some of them are proposing to do it, pero somebody might bring them to court, diba? If you don't have legal backing, diba? So, yun ang namin, yun ang parang sinasabi namin, watch out din dyan. Although they're looking into, yun nga, so sabi namin, look at lang all of the legalities with regard to that.
Sir, itong si Yorme, he feels vindicated by the numbers of people whom he allowed to walk in to the vaccination centers recently. And then last Sunday, syempre under pressure also from IATF na nagsabing dapat walang walk-in. He tried it for one day yesterday and nilangaw nga, no? That was his word. And now he's back to doing walk-in. And his reason, and he feels vindicated na, is that you will never reach the 500,000 a day target if you don't allow walk-ins. So what should be the policy? Are you about to modify it to actually allow more people to get vaccinated in a day?
Well, ang advice kasi namin sa LGUs, no, all LGUs, is to prepare a substitution list. A substitution list. Yun yung advice namin. That's actually a directive, perhaps, ng IATF or advice ng IATF and ng National Task Force to all LGUs to prepare a substitution list. Because we are medyo ano kami sa walk-in, medyo na ano lang kami, tentative kami dyan sa walk-in kasi parang walk-in kasi hindi mo ma-predict kasi yung number of walk-ins, kumbaga.
Yes.
But sir,
That's
I
why
mean,
we'd rather talk about a substitution list para define
yeah, but I
yung
mean,
number
yes.
na darating, yung
Sec-
substitution.
Yes.
Kesa walk-in, parang you're inviting a crowd eh.
Yes, but Sec, to that point, I just want to clarify. When you say substitution list, that is still based on appointments, di po ba? I mean, you
Yes,
don't just
yeah.
say, oh, sige, the substitute,
Right.
yung mga substitute will also need to have their appointments, di ba?
Oo.
So that still
Yeah.
leaves you with the fundamental question of are walk-ins allowed or not?
And how do you know that even your substitution list
Kasi I mean,
will actually
kasi
allow
yung
you
doon
to
sa
reach
nakita,
the
I mean, let's
numbers
define it
you
this
want?
way.
Yeah.
Because let's define it this way. Doon sa nakita ko sa balita, si Yorme nagpa-appointment, kaunti yung dumating. May mga nag-aabang doon sa labas. And in that scene,
Yeah.
the walk-in was literally the mayor saying, o sige, nandito kayo, magpabakuna na kayong lahat. Total, nakapila na kayo eh. Di ba? So if we define it that way, we still go back to something that we thought we had clarified with the IATF a couple of weeks back. But now in the context of Manila, and we're hearing Caloocan and Navotas and other LGUs are also following suit, nakakalito because sinabi ng IATF, hindi, policy naman talaga yan eh. Bawal naman talaga ang walk-in eh. Now you're saying your word now is actually tentative kami. So what is the real policy on walk-ins?
Well, ganito yan, no? Siyempre, nagbibigay tayo ng mga policies para hindi tayo magkaroon, first of all, para organized yung vaccination na ginagawa natin. So, we have to put order into it and dapat common to all. So, that's the reason why we are talking about substitution, di ba? Kasi imagine if the policy was accept walk-ins and then you will now be faced with a problem because the problem is you will have people lined up outside. Which we don't want to happen kasi baka super spread.
Which is exactly, I mean, we have to balance it
Yeah.
out. Baka sabihin ng mga tao, pinupuri lang natin. But let's just add the context. That's exactly what happened to Manila. Kaya natin pinag-uusapan to dahil nagkagulo sa Manila.
So it's really for LGUs to understand the reasons behind yung policy. We don't make policy just because, di ba? There's a reason to it. That being said, we also understand, syempre, that the LGUs also don't want to waste the vaccines. Di ba? Kumbaga, malaking kasalanan din yun eh, if you're wasting vaccines. No? That's why, ang sinasabi nga namin, mag-substitution list. No? We don't lang want, we all understand, we don't want super spreader events. Least of all, we don't want it done, super spreader events happening in the vaccination sites. So
Yes, sir.
that's the reason for that.
Wala namang kasing schedule sa Manila. There's no time schedule in Manila. Nandito kami sa Manila and our workers are trying to get vaccination. They don't get any schedules. Are LGUs required to issue time frames within a certain date? Walang ganung requirement.
Ang alam namin with the different LGUs, no, sa experience namin is LGUs have their mga schedules yan, di ba?
Walang schedule. QR code lang sa Manila.
Yes, sir. Sa Manila, sir, QR code lang. You just show your QR code to prove that you belong to the class that's getting vaccinated for that day or for that week.
Yeah, it's really a walk-in system.
Yeah.
QR code yun eh. Anybody can go in. Wala siyang time frame.
Talagang dinadagsa, totoo talaga yan.
Dadagsa,
Kaya naman Manila has the highest numbers in terms of daily vaccinations, no? Dahil nga nagpapa-walk-in. So, yon, I guess.
It's really all walk-in.
Siguro, Sec, another way of asking this question, and just a bit more direct. How can Mayor Isko Moreno keep doing and allowing walk-ins with no risk of getting penalized or sanctioned by the national government that says the policy is bawal ang walk-in?
Well, sa amin naman, with the LGUs, it's the DILG na in charge sa enforcement with the LGUs. No? So if merong ganitong klaseng mga pangyayari, then the DILG knows already what to do with regard to that. So it's just really, first of all, syempre, we have to start by conversing first with the LGU, no? And that's really DILG. Talking to them, understanding, and then we'll remind, and then we'll ayusin natin yung procedure, no? We all want the same thing naman, to get people vaccinated. But the reason why we have schedules and we have the priority list and the priority sectors is because kailangan orderly din ang ginagawa natin. Kasi pag walk-in, mahirap unless A1, A2, A3, tapos now A4, di ba? So we just have to put some order there, and yun nga, iwasan natin yung super spreader. So the ILG po in charge sa ganyan.
Sir, isa na lang, pahabo lang. Sabi ni Gwen Garcia, Cebu will bow na to the IATF.
Yes.
So are you assuming the international flights direct to Cebu?
Yung international flights naman to Cebu, it really is, di ba, nag-resume naman talaga siya. Yung naging unang problema was first of all, was the capacity of Cebu to accommodate for quarantine, given na ilan lang yung hotel rooms nila. Kaya nalipat nga yung flights from Cebu to Manila. No?
So ida-divert niyo pa rin ba?
Now, no, there will be no diversion, but malilimit lang yung number of passengers, just like what we do in Metro Manila, in NAIA, di ba? The number of passengers that can fly based on the number of hotel rooms or quarantine rooms available. So it will be based on that number. And mas may limit yung Cebu in the number of passengers that they can take in. So yun lang maging limitation. But in terms of flying directly to Cebu, there will not be a problem. I mean, we've not stopped naman international flights to Cebu.
Okay. IATF Co-Chairperson and Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles, maraming salamat po, Sec.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sige po.
Stay safe, sir.
Ingat all. Stay safe. God bless.
And that's all for this special edition of The Chiefs. We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. Before we go, a reminder to our viewers, mask on, wash hands, stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
I'm Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5.
I'm Ed Lingao, and we are One News.